Hi everybody, today we're going to take a look at an updated Senate prediction for 2024. There's not many changes from when I last looked at this a few months ago, but let's go through the states and see where we're at. We'll start with the safe states. Those are over 10-point margins. We'll start on the East Coast. Maine and Vermont, those have independent senators Angus King and Bernie Sanders. For all intents and purposes, they are going to be Democrats. We also have New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey. If Bob Menendez runs, it's possible it gets under 10, but this early, we're going to leave it at safe. Delaware and Maryland. Then we're going to go over here to Minnesota. Amy Klobuchar. She might not win by way over 10 points anymore, but I don't think she's in any danger in Minnesota. Then we'll go over here to the West Coast. Washington, and we can't forget about Hawaii. California, it's extremely likely to be a Democrat. Even with their primary system, we're going to leave that at safe. So now we can move on to the safe Republican states. And we'll start here in Indiana. That's going to be an open seat. There is a chance that since it is an open seat, it could get under 10. But Indiana has become pretty safe for the Republicans. We're going to leave that at safe. We also have Tennessee and Mississippi. Missouri is also going to be safe. There's a chance it gets under 10 for Josh Hawley. He's probably going to go up against Lucas Kunce, but I think at this point it's going to be over 10. We have Nebraska and the Nebraska Special, North Dakota, Wyoming, and in Utah, Mitt Romney, he might get a primary challenger. Either way, I think it would be safe for the Republicans. Now, not all of these candidates have officially declared they're running, but I think there's enough information to put those all at safe. Now we're going to go on to the likely states. These are going to be between 5 and 10 points. For the Democrats, let's start in Pennsylvania. Bob Casey, he's running again, and that makes this a likely state, not a lean state. I would say it's going to be mid-single digits. Of course, we have to see what the Republicans do. That could be a mess if it's Doug Mastriano. I don't see how he's going to do much better than he did for governor in the midterms. Next, Virginia, Tim Kaine. I think he's the strong favorite. Republicans don't seem to have much going on there at this point. Glenn Youngkin is their best candidate. Even with him, I don't think this would be an easy flip, but without him, Kaine is going to be the favorite. And in New Mexico, that's a state that's closer to safe than it is to leans. But with so much time left, let's just see who the Republicans put up to go against Martin Heinrich. And let's move on to the likely Republican states. We'll start in Texas. And Ted Cruz scraped by in 2018 in that blue wave. He's not really all that likable. He's polarizing. I don't think he's that strong of a candidate. Democrats are going to want to go all out to capture this seat. But at this point, I think Cruz is kind of like Tim Kaine in Virginia. He's going to be the strong favorite. It could get narrower. That's definitely possible. And depending on the national environment, a 10-point margin is not completely out of the question either. So we're going to leave it at likely for now. And the other state here that I have it likely is in West Virginia. That would be a flip and a pickup for the Republicans. Joe Manchin, he's probably going to run again. If he doesn't, it would be a guaranteed flip and a safe margin. With Joe Manchin, it's likely it's going to be up against Governor Jim Justice. Justice seems like he's going to be able to take out Manchin. I think it would be by over 5 points, but I can't put it at safe. It's just a little bit too early. Without Jim Justice, I would take it down to a leans. I really don't think Joe Manchin has much gas left in the tank. In Virginia, he squeezed all the mileage he could get out of being a Democrat in a deep red state, and I think it's likely that he's won his last election. Now let's move on to the lean states. Now, these are under a 5-point margin. For the Democrats, we'll start in Michigan. That's an open seat, so it's going to be competitive. Republicans don't really have a strong bench there. Alyssa Slotkin appears to be the frontrunner for the Democrats. I think she'd be a reasonably strong candidate. She does have to get through a primary. It does not seem like there's a ton of action going on there yet. And given the recent midterms, Democrats are bullish on Michigan, but Republicans can't give up on that seat. They've got to go on offense. Michigan is a state where it's possible they could pull out a surprise victory. Next state, Wisconsin. This is similar to Michigan, but it's not an open seat. Incumbent Democrat Tammy Baldwin is running for re-election to a third term. So all the attention will be on the Republican side, and it's too early. We don't know who the nominee would be. It could be Representative Mike Gallagher. Rebecca Clayfish, she could get into this race again. We'll see what happens. But right now, Tammy Baldwin is starting out with the advantage. Next, let's move over to Arizona. This is going to be a crazy election. There's a lot of unknowns. The Republican side is wide open, but there's a great opportunity for them to be able to flip this seat. But on the other end, we have Sinema, we have Gallego. It's unknown how much each of those candidates are going to pull in, usually in a three-way race. The polling does fluctuate and doesn't accurately reflect what happens in the general election. There's usually late movement, and voters make last-minute decisions. Next state, Nevada. Incumbent Democrat Jackie Rosen. She's vulnerable, but she's favored. All the focus, again, is going to be on the Republican side. That's another wait-and-see type of situation. Now let's see the lean states for the Republicans. I only have one of them, and that is down in Florida. Incumbent Republican Rick Scott. He seems to be running again. he has an edge, and some of you might disagree and say this has to at least be likely, especially given the midterms and the overperformance of Ron DeSantis and all the Republicans there. I get it. I just want to wait one more cycle and see what happens in Florida. I want to see if those trends were kind of a one-off or if they do go harder red. And I know Rick Scott has won some close elections. I give him full credit on that, but I don't really think he has massive popularity. I think he could be vulnerable in the right circumstances. So that's why I have it at leans, and I want to see who the Democrats end up putting up. Their bench is damaged in Florida, just like the Republicans in Michigan, but there could always be a surprise candidate that emerges. At this point, I would guess Stephanie Murphy would probably be a stronger candidate, but we'll see what happens. Now let's move on to the tilt states, and these margins would be 1 point or less. And we'll start in Ohio. This I have as a tilt for the Democrats. Sherrod Brown, the incumbent Democrat, this is his 4th time running. We know the state has drifted toward the right. He is definitely vulnerable, but we don't know what's going to happen on the Republican side. We have Matt Dolan. He's declared his candidacy. Let's see who else jumps into this. Maybe Warren Davidson, maybe Frank LaRose. Then I think it's going to be super competitive, and it could easily flip. It's just too far out that I have to give a slight advantage to Sherrod Brown. I don't think he's super unpopular, but there's a year and a half to go. Let's give it a little bit more time. And finally, the last state here is Montana, and that I also have is a tilt for the Democrat Jon Tester. Tester, he's proven himself to be popular. He's proven himself to win narrow elections. We don't know what's going to happen on the Republican side. If it's a rematch with Matt Rosendale, Tester could pull out a win. If it's against Zinke, Tester could pull out a win. If it's against Tim Sheehy, that's more unknown, and we'd have to see what happens. So I think the national environment is going to be key. But Tester, I'm giving him this slight advantage because of his popularity and his prior wins. On a presidential level, it's going to go red, but in the Senate, I'm going to be a little bit cautious at this point, and I think it could go either way, but Tester has the slightest edge. So that would result in a 50-50 Senate split. Republicans would flip and pick up West Virginia. They definitely have opportunities in Montana and Ohio. There's a possibility they could get Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan. And for the Democrats, it's going to only be Texas and Florida as their possibilities. So the map does favor the Republicans. I don't think it's as overwhelming as it's made out to be. The top of that ticket for president and the national environment, that's going to swing a lot of these Senate races by maybe 4 or 5 points. So as I always say, we'll see what happens. But this is what I settled on at this point in time. We can always update it in the future. Let me know in the comments. Do you agree with this map, or would you make a few more flips, change a few of these margins? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.